everyone, and welcome to the first ever Tablemon Invitational. I am joined here by Joe Bernard from Omnipoke. Thank you so much for being here, Joe.
Yeah, no worries, Pablo. It's always going to be fun to watch some top tier games. That's what we're all here for today. So being part of that is going to be awesome.
I'm glad you're joining me today in commentating. You're obviously the more experienced voice here, so I'm looking forward to enjoying some quality games. We have quite an interesting roster of players. I mean, I organized this, so I know why I chose them. But what do you think of the players? Like, which match are you looking forward to the most?
I mean, all 8 players are really well known, respected in the community at this point. We've had, world's winners among us, international winners among us, and players who are opinionated and active in the community as well. So they're pretty much the big names of the game right now. So they're all sort of the hot topic in the TCG. So they are all players to watch when you're going to any event. So having sort of titans colliding in every single game for this tournament is going to be a really awesome spectacle, I think.
Yeah, I mean that's the purpose here. Obviously, all players are super accomplished. Like, just as I'm seeing this, I think the only one that hasn't made a finals or won a regionals this season alone is Robin, and of course he's the world champion, right? So it's like there's I don't know, the CP count total from these guys is probably over 7,000,
Yeah.
9,000, something crazy.
Yeah, they've all done exceptionally well this season and over the last 2 or 3 seasons. So even if they haven't been on all cylinders, maybe the last couple of weeks, which some of them have, some of them haven't been, but they are all very well respected. Like, for example, Tord still holds probably the most impressive record of any of them at the moment with his internationals performances. Even though he's not been super active this season, it's coming around to the EUIC. That's a tournament I know that he's looking out for, and he's obviously attending and wanting to do well at. So we're catching him at a good time where he's sort of getting back into the focus of the game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to seeing him later this month, right? In a couple of weeks at the European International. So hopefully he makes a big comeback and a big showing there. Since he's been having this slower season, because he's been doing school, right?
Yeah, he's basically kind of burnt out from last season, which kind of makes sense because he traveled everywhere, really focusing hard on the game. So he's kind of had a chilled out season. Obviously, he's still going to get his Worlds invite and whatnot, but he's not doing the sort of weekly grinding that he was doing previously. So I know that he's sort of back on it for the EUIC because obviously home turf, and at every internationals he wants to perform. So he's still going to be trying hard for the next tournament or two, and obviously picking it back up for Worlds because that's still something he needs to tick off his list.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's slouching around at the moment. So he's definitely getting his focus back in on the game.
I mean, I think all of us, or pretty much all of us, need to take that off our list, right? I've been trying for
exactly
17 years, so
yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we have for the matches, we have 2 different groups. Group A is composed of Caleb, Stéphane, Pedro, and Jimmy, and then Group B has Rukan, Tord, Robin, and Azul. A very nice even spread of 2 North American players and 2 European players. We're gonna head into the first match with Caleb and Stéphane. Caleb with a very interesting Blastoise deck, which was definitely the least, I guess, archetypical deck from all the ones that they chose. And then we have Stéphane, of course, with his trusty Zoroark deck.
Yeah, Caleb definitely seems to be the sort of wild card of the bunch. It seems like everyone else has taken things that you'd expect to see in, a major tournament. A lot of Ultra, Necrozmas, a lot of Zoroark players out here. But Caleb, he's going with Blastoise, which we haven't really seen do well, like all of the team up expansions. So I'm excited to see how he tries to pilot it and his card inclusions within the deck as well.
Yeah, and I mean, generally speaking, Blastoise, with the Towering Splash GX, he could definitely have a good matchup against all the Malamars here. So if he gets past the Zoroark, maybe he'll have a decent chance.
Yeah, I think it's definitely actually it's a really interesting thing when there's only an 8-player tournament. It's actually, a strange metacle to try and make where maybe you try and take one bad matchup and you're trying to beat other people. And some of these players, obviously, they'll be more well known for playing certain archetypes. So trying to win out against just a couple of players in a small room is completely different to taking a deck to a big tournament because you could expect to face anything in, you know, a room with 1,000 players compared to just 8 of the top ones in the room. So trying to take some sort of high and low matchup spreads might be a good strategy actually to take with the deck. So Blastoise, as you said, it can take some big wins, and it wants to dodge a couple of matchups here and there. So it's a risk that Caleb's looking for, I think.
Yeah, and as Chad mentions, I think you could call this the most stacked league challenge ever.
That's one way of putting it, I guess. Yeah.
Okay,
More on the line,
so let's jump into the first game. I'm gonna try to solve. Apparently, your volume is very much higher than mine, so I'm gonna try and speak louder. But also, I'm gonna try tweak with the settings. But let's jump into our first match: Caleb versus Stéphane, starting in just 1 second. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me better. We have Caleb versus Stéphane. Caleb wins a coin flip, and I guess now is the time to reveal the final surprise of the tournament. I'm sure viewers are a bit confused as to what is happening on the screen, but we are actually going to have it's not open hand, right? Players can't see their hands, but we can. Yeah, we have that knowledge. So you can see, even though it's Caleb's turn and we're looking from Stéphane's point of view, we get to see everything that Caleb has in his hand, and that'll let us have a better analysis of what goes on in the games.
Yeah, this is the perfect way to see it. If I could have this in real life, it would be incredible. Looks like Caleb just has an attach Cynthia turn onto his lone Squirtle and has to send it to Stéphane. So really, he's hoping to try and get Articunos on board. And, you know, multiple Squirtles, a little bit scary for him, but Stéphane's got a better start here. A couple Nest Balls also already with a supporter in hand. So he's playing the Zoroark archetype alongside Weavile as well. Probably the hardest matchup for Caleb to experience, because obviously Bloodthirsty Eyes can get around Articuno, as can Alolan Muck. And normally you're just trying to protect your Blastoise for the entire game, build up towards Magikarp and Well or Tag Team. So it's pretty much a dream matchup for Stéphane, and Caleb's already had a slow start here.
Yeah, definitely Caleb's start was a bit underwhelming, and whilst we see Stéphane check out his deck and figure out his prize cards, I did want to mention, like what you pointed out, that you've casted obviously a lot of official Pokemon tournaments, and like I've watched you cast, and I'm always noticing how casters are like, oh, is that a Guzma in his hand? I can tell.
Yeah.
I can blah blah. So
this is perfect.
Yeah, like this gives us full information. This allows us to really, like from a viewer's perspective, I think this is what Pokemon should be striving for, right? I mean, I don't know why, or I don't know, like the reasoning for not implementing a viewer mode. I think that should have gone along with PTCGO since the beginning.
Yeah, it really does make sense. Like in a lot of other virtual card games, there's always a spectator view. It's surprising that it's not part of PTCGO. I mean, PTCGO is a long way from being like a tournament mode officially. It can only ever be things like this at the moment. But if you're able to put the time in and make it look like this, I mean, it might be a great step in making it a thing.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously in real life, like you would need an extra pair of dedicated cameras to actually have that, and even have like indications to the players to show them, perhaps, right? But that seems a bit, I don't want to say unnatural, but doesn't seem very intuitive.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Stéphane finishes his turn with a big Lily, gets an attachment on a Rockruff. No Zoroarks just yet, though, so it's not the most perfect hand. He just Lilied into a bunch of supporters, so he's still looking for more next turn.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting that he recognizes that his Ditto could go down. At this point, Stéphane doesn't really know exactly what he's up against. But a turn, like a Rare Candy Blastoise into a KO on the Ditto, if he attached the energy there, it could have been pretty bad, right? So I guess he's playing it extra safe.
Yeah, and whenever there's the potential for a Blastoise to come out, that could be all sorts of attackers coming out of nowhere. So he's respecting the odds of a turn to Blastoise. And Caleb's going to go ahead and Crash Awake to grab himself that combo, Candy Stoice. Good thing for him is that it has 160 hit points. So he's basically saved himself from getting knocked out this turn. He's also going to Powering Squall just to get energies onto it. I think attacking is a little bit risky here because Blastoise does damage to himself with his Hydro Tackle, and that could put him in range. So yeah, he's actually just going to pass here. I like that call.
Cautious. Yeah, I think that's definitely the right call. At price versus the potential to just outright lose a game, definitely not worth it.
Yeah, I mean, Stéphane already discarded one Kukui, and surprisingly in his list he's actually playing 2 copies of Kukui, which isn't very common in Zoroark. You can see it in his discard pile there from his first turn Ultra Ball. Yeah. So Caleb may have tried to take the risk, but there's also the opportunity for Devoured Field and whatnot, so it's a good good passive turn from him, just basically attaching energies so that he can retreat next turn.
Very convenient how Stéphane clicked on his discard pile just as you were talking about his discard pile. That's a very cool coincidence. So
number 1's on the board.
Slow start for both, but I would say Stéphane definitely has a little bit of the upper hand here. Like as the game progresses, that Zoroark will just enable pretty much everything he'll want, and Caleb just with a poor Blastoise that is even afraid of attacking.
Ooh, just a Kukui from Stéphane. No DCE, so not very aggressive turn from him. Only one Zoroark being threatened as well, so not the ideal turn 2 turn for Stéphane, especially missing DCE. He'd love to put pressure on Blastoise. But still, I think he'll take this, depending on how crazy Caleb's Cynthia is. That's all he's left to do here. Yeah. Caleb really wants to find more Squirtles and Articuno. There's one at least. Also a Poketom's reasonable.
And with Stéphane's bench being full, there's no worry about Alolan Mach turning off Articuno's ability.
That's true, yeah.
Of course, he has Bloodthirsty Eyes, right, to pressure, but he'll only have access to one of them as well. So I do see the potential of a huge Whaler taking 2 prizes, or like 4 prizes back-to-back on 2 GXs, definitely there.
Going to see a Power Squall whiff, which is actually huge from Caleb. It means he can't get 70 damage onto this Zoroark this turn. He just has to attach to the bench, which really hurts. Getting some prior damage on Zoroarks can really help the likes of that Werelord doing its big 180 damage attack for 5 energy. So that's a bit awkward. It means that Stéphane doesn't have to focus on using Nacerola. You can save them for later down the line. And it also means that Caleb's sacrificing Articuno just to protect his other guys right now, and not getting really any value out of it. Big pickup as well from Stéphane. He gets DC straight out the gate.
Yeah, which is exactly the card you would have been looking for this turn, right?
For sure.
No, I mean, I think Stéphane definitely has a very good opportunity to just take the initiative here, bringing up the Magikarp and Wailord with Bloodthirsty Eyes. Surprised he doesn't go for that. Because, like, what do you gain by KOing on Articuno? Rather than just pressuring the Magikarp on Wailord and setting up the 2-hit KO.
I guess the biggest upswing is that there's only one Blastoise in play, and if you knock out this active, Caleb's probably forced to bring up the Magikarp Wailord anyway for you, and it's unlikely that it can get a big attack off unless the Power Squall is absolutely insane next turn.
True.
So I guess he's just trying to deal with it now, save the Gust for future Articuno turns. So there's big payoff. Oftentimes the Wailord deck doesn't have space for like many switch cards. It's normally just like Guzmas and possibly one switch. Stéphane made a really interesting play. He Palpated in 2 Kukuis. I don't know what math he's trying to fix here, particularly. That was a really strange call, but he's got himself into 3 Zoroarks now, which is excellent. Both times he's traded away his one Pokemon communication target, and every time he's traded, he's found more Pokemon.
Yeah, and exactly the Pokemon you could have wanted, right?
Yeah, that's so weird. I guess he's really valuing these Kukuis. Yeah. Not sure what really Pokemon he's trying to save these for.
I mean, the one big scenario you could see is like if Caleb ends up filling up his bench, a Dangerous Rogue GX with a Choice Band and a Kukui would be 300 damage to get the one shot.
True.
But with Caleb's slow start, I mean, maybe I'm just a more aggressive player, but I definitely would have preferred to just swing into the Magikarp and Wailord, because if at any point that thing gets fully powered up and trades against 2 Zoroarks or a Zoroark and a Lycanroc, then it became really cost effective, right? You traded 3 prizes for 4. And I didn't see much value in taking care of that Articuno, but I guess we'll see how the game plays out.
Yeah, I could see also Stefan thinking, I don't really want to gust this unless I have a choice band to guarantee a two-shot. Maybe that's one of the things he was kind of like digging for. That's also potentially the reason why he didn't go for the gust.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to see
Okay, so
Lily for a fresh hand. Ultra away two of his Pokemon. Not one. He thinks the time's passed for Articuno. He's just going to go all in on the whale.
yeah,
Puts down a Squirtle and passes. And that's kind of the awkward thing about only getting one Power Squall rolling. This Magikarp just has to sit here for another turn waiting.
okay, so yeah, I mean, now with this incoming hit, it definitely looks like the Magikarp and Wailord will not be trading, making that 3-4-4 trade that I was mentioning. And there's a choice band, but I guess with the Kukui and the Divard field, he could have hit 150 twice with Zork. So there's the value of the Kukui, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense now. It's going to really... I'm sure he'll put down either the Stadium Kukui or the choice band this turn. I can't see him going for any other target. He's really undervalued his Pokecoms, I think, this game. He's traded away every Pokemon while the con was in hand, and now finally trades it away, like, for good. He's also going to start powering up a Lele, which I don't mind at all here. Because, you know, the Magikarp Wailord likes to put a lot of energies onto itself, so this is a nice little mini threat.
Yeah. The Weavile, not very threatening right now, but it could be later on. So I guess if at any point there were multiple Articunos, then the Mach turning them off could have made it so that the Weavile was less good. It's just the fan setup is looking way stronger than Caleb's right now.
Definitely. Caleb's sort of just running on fumes, trying to play from his top deck a lot of the time. He's got himself a Brooklet Hill, which can maybe get him more Squirtles. And as you say, this Weavile is just a bit of a passive threat. Because if Caleb wants to get too many Blastoise out or, you know, have to use a Lele here or there, it could really punish him. He actually chose not to use the Brooklet Hill, just played it down to get extra value from the Lily. He also hit the Choice Band before the Lily, which is huge because it means if he is to get 5 energy this turn, he can knock out a Zoroark and start trying to make his comeback here.
Yeah, I mean, he does have... Hopefully he hits this powerful Squalls to start... Yeah, okay, so he will start applying some pressure finally. I guess hoping Stéphane doesn't have the return KO on this, which wouldn't exactly be easy without Dangerous Rogue, but with the Kukui, the Divar field that we get to see in his hand, definitely gonna take place.
Yeah, he could even do the Lele Kukui play. I think that's kind of what Stéphane's considering what's better right now. Both reasonable options. Caleb putting the energy on Squirtle just so he can retreat out of it. Interesting that he plays the 70 hit point one and not the one that actually has free retreat when he's got a Stadium in play.
Yeah. So looking at Caleb's hand here, it does seem like with the Rescue Stretcher, the Rare Candy, the Ultra Ball, maybe in the Crasher Wake, he might have a decent shot at just powering up another Magikarp and Wailord out of the blue and taking a return KO on this Zoroark. I think that would actually put him in a really great spot.
That would... It's asking a lot, but at the same time, the powerful Squalls, they can get stronger and stronger throughout the game, especially when your hand is 7 non-water energies. If you can get, especially like energy recycle system or whatever, energy recycler, he can definitely reload for those Blastoise. They do get stronger as the game progresses, so they do become more and more of a threat. So even though Stéphane's looking at going down to 2 prizes here, we know he's already got it guaranteed in his hand. It's going to be down to him. He might even be preparing for a Judge turn as well this turn. But no choice band, so having to settle for the Kukui Devoured Field. He does have Pokecom available, but he's saying that the Weaviles are going to be strong enough.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting. It makes Towering Splash a reasonable option when there's going to be plenty of non-GXs around.
True. Towering Splash would only get him 3 prizes though, so...
Yeah. I mean, it won't end him the game, but it's still just something to bear in mind.
I mean, right now with what Caleb has, Stretcher for Magikarp and Wailord, Ultra Ball for Blastoise, and then Crasher Wake for Choice Band and the...
But he only has the 1 water in hand, right? So he can't Crasher.
Oh, it's two waters. That's
Yeah,
right. I
yeah.
generally completely forgot about that. I thought it was
That's the
discard any
nice.
two cards. Yeah,
Yeah.
never mind.
You can still get the Blastoise and go for a pretty powerful Cynthia here, though,
Yeah,
which seems good, and get a manual attachment in. So
yeah,
at the very least, we could be looking at a response knockout if he can high roll the choice band.
yeah. The choice band's a tough card for Caleb here. Looking at his list, how many does he run? Is it two or is it three? It's two, and he's already
Yeah.
used up one. So
Yeah. That's what we mean when we say high roll. We got to try and get there.
yeah,
It's going to ask a lot. You can see Caleb, he's debating right now if it's whether it's worth power scaling before or after the Cynthia here. Some sequencing is always interesting with this deck because you could always find your way into that recycler to increase your odds. So he just went for one Squall, then Cynthia's, then goes for Squall number 2. He needs 3 off this.
yeah.
Just 2, it looks like.
Oof, not quite.
Big whiff from him. He's debating putting down this Articuno, thinking twice, maybe because of the potential of Weavile. But he's going to slap it down regardless.
Yeah, I'm not seeing. I mean, yeah, it's you needed the high roll turn, right? Like he had the
Kind of.
chance. It wasn't likely, but it was possible.
Yeah. I think he really needs to hit an energy recycle really early in his turn. He just 1 energy short, so that's 2 turns in a row where he's either 1 or 2 energies short, which is a little bit of a shame for him because if the Squalls were kinder, he'd actually be putting a lot more pressure on this game.
Yeah, like that initial Articuno, this high roll turn, definitely like, despite his super slow start, he had a very decent chance to take over the game.
Stéphane has a few interesting lines of play here. Because he's so close to winning the game. Realistically, he has to think, what's easiest here? Am I just trying to attack into this Magikarp Warlord twice? Does that play into an Acerola at this point? Is it worth me trying to like gust up 2 things and knock them out? Because Devoured Field Guzma can knock out like a Blastoise, for example, and then maybe you can try and finish things off with the Bloodthirsty Eyes, Righteous Beating. So he feels so ahead that it's at this point trying to figure out what's going to make him win the most, because keeping Zoroark in the active might come with some risk here because it basically denies him drawing 2 more cards later on. So I'd like to see him go for a Weavile attacking turn here, to be honest. Just because he still has the Rockruff and Lycanroc option available to him. But it feels like he's getting pretty close to just taking control of this game.
Yeah. I mean, without knowing Caleb's list,
Mm-hmm.
I think in this spot I would feel more comfortable just trying to take 2 KOs on the non-GXs.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to see like a max potion out of nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Acerola. So yeah, and it seems like that's what Stéphane is going to do here.
And it's relatively unlikely that the Blastoise player has space for much hand disruption either, so the Zoroark player can just sit on like Guzma for game, basically.
Yeah.
If we are going to see Weavile coming in, really punishing Caleb for benching that Articuno, which really didn't seem to serve much purpose from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree.
It's a big punish.
Yeah. Because at 160 HP, they were definitely out of Zoroark range, so he would have required a Dangerous Rogue GX plus a Kukui. I mean, and then the other target was Articuno, right? So
Yeah.
it's, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. That Articuno definitely. I'm not sure what Caleb was thinking about. Maybe he was thinking of retreating into it. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only reason why it would be, why he would think about putting it down. But yeah, that's going to be it. Just...
Okay, so we have first game win for Stéphane. We will have game 2 starting very soon, guys, in about 2 minutes. So get some water, take a break. We'll be with you in just a couple of minutes.
Fix the sound, which is good. Oh,
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to game 2. We have Caleb Gedimer over here playing Stéphane. Stéphane did win game 1. Of course, Caleb choosing to go first in game 2. And we actually have Caleb here in chat. So thank you so much for joining us. We have Caleb, we have Tord. Not sure if we have the other players as well, but thank you guys so much as well for joining us today.
Caleb starting off with a Tapu Lele GX start. Not ideal for him at all. Plays 4 copies of Articuno just to try and get that as quickly as possible. At the very least, he does have some ball search cards. He may be forced to put 2 Leles onto the board, as long as he hasn't prized his second copy. There it is. Thank goodness for that. He at least has a playable hand this turn. Better than just Squirtle attach pass, I guess, from game 1.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the double Lele is now a liability not only for Dangerous Rogue, but also for Weavile. But maybe we can see a crazy Tarn Splash GX that can eliminate those threats before they actually become something.
Very least we see double Squirtle this time. Stéphane's got a pretty nice hand. He's already going to be able to scout his deck. One great thing about playing Zoroark is you can sometimes benefit from stadiums like Brooklet Hill. Looks like because he's started one Rockruff and prized another, in this case he won't be able to get any free value. So this Ultra Ball, he's already holding on to Lily, so he's probably just going to go ahead and grab like Ditto or Zorua here, and then try and get into a large hand size.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, that is the plan with this deck early on, right? Just turn 1 Lily, and then hope you draw some good cards off of that.
In game 1, we saw how much he valued the Kukui. I think he still has to Ultra Ball 1 away here. It's whether or not he values Grimer as well.
Yeah, which, I mean, with double Lele in play already, that really powers up your Weavile, so I don't think I would value the Grimer too much.
Yeah. I think Grimer Kukui is always the discard. It's whether or not he wants a Stretcher. I feel like he should hold Stretcher, even though you're drawing 1 less card. Seems like you might want to recycle Weavile or this Rockruff, seeing that you've prized the other Rockruff.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And investing the DC against that potentially like slow setup deck seems okay, right? It should be a safe investment there for Stéphane.
Gets himself a couple more basics, not too shabby at all, and he can just reasonably happily pass it over to Caleb, who draws into another Water Energy. That's one of the issues with the Blastoise deck. It's always phenomenal when you can squall out the Water Energies from your deck and you start running really smoothly, but until that time, you have a lot of potential dead draw outs.
Yeah.
So it's a Brooklet for Articuno, though, which is a good start.
Yeah, I mean, Bird Candy, Blastoise into our Retreat KO with Articuno would definitely be a much better change of pace. And now it's up to the powerful Squall.
Ooh, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Candy Stoise. Powerful Squall can do the business here. It's going to be a nice pressure prize, protecting the Blastoise themselves as well.
Yeah, with no Dangerous Rogue, I mean no Bloodthirsty Eyes, then you have to get past this Articuno before you attempt anything else. And the suspense of the powerful Squall.
He used the Recycler a little early just to make sure that that sticks this time.
Yeah.
It's going to put an excess energy onto a Tapu Lele, which still can get gusted up because it's obviously not a water type. But
yeah.
He's still going to try and put it onto the Lele, thinking that's the thing most likely to tank, which actually comes with some risk because there was a Sneasel on board. It would require a big combination of cards to punish Caleb for that play, but right now his hand is nowhere near it. Just one Zoroark to trade with.
Yeah. It seems like Lele will be Caleb's main attacker this game based on the current setup.
And the hand. I think that's the biggest thing. He can't just wait around to try and find a better target. He just has nothing to play with right now. He's just looking at blue in his hand, so he's just got to play with what he's got access to.
Yeah, so we see the Ditto, which gives access to a potential Lycanroc. Stretcher, putting back resources into a deck, I guess, is the safer play. I kind of would have liked setting up another Rockruff here, but I guess
you can do it off the stadium. Yeah, so this guarantees his knockout, and he can Lily as well. So really strong turn from Stéphane. The one trade got him into Lily, which pretty much changed the complexion of his hand, which is pretty awesome.
Yep. And the Devoured Field, even though, I mean, he didn't whiff a basic, he has the Ultra Ball, but it would have been a very costly Ultra Ball. So the stadium definitely smooths out the KO here. That unfortunate 110 HP, which makes a big difference in the numbers.
Yeah, it's normally Inhibitor Zapdos, but Articuno sort of gets caught in the crossfire. That Righteous Beating just does perfect numbers in this case for one less Pokemon. Caleb might have to just say, Tapu Lele, let's go, you and me. Seems to be what he's after here.
Yikes. Not
no
the
more
top deck.
Brooklet Hill either. Yeah. No more Brooklet to get any other things to squall onto. So it looks like it's just Lele Stoice at this point.
Lele Stoice, the new archetype.
Go for 100 damage onto the Zoroark. At least putting some pressure on Stéphane, but this is definitely not the ideal setup either for Caleb.
Yeah, and it feels like Caleb's deck, like on paper, it seems really good, right? But then when it comes to the flow of the deck, that's where these sort of decks end up letting us down, right? Like the combination, the synergy seems so powerful, but then you end up getting this like bumpy turns where all the momentum you could have built just goes out the window.
Absolutely. It's the fact that the power score is just not guaranteed as well, just to add insult to injury. Like at least Vikavolt decks, they can guarantee their energies. So once you get over that early hurdle of getting the stage 2 out, you're at least, you know exactly what you're doing. This deck sort of has to hedge for, possible outcomes when you're trying to get multiple Stoice out. So it's a little bit fragile overall.
Okay, so if you're Stéphane here, obviously you're looking at Acerola initially, but the Kukui, I mean, he loves his Kukui. So he could be going just for a more pressure-based play, I guess, with trying to find a choice band.
Yeah, I think his first priority is here, get as many Zoroarks up as possible. So getting the second one going. I think the Acerola's kind of too appealing not to go for in my book, especially when Caleb just has an army of Tapu Leles. If he's able to find Kukui, he has the Weavile option now. Or if he finds Choice Band, which would be a pretty big deal. But honestly, even knocking out like a Squirtle is a good option. With the Lycanroc gets you onto the even prizes just to knock out 2 Leles.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to mop up later on with GX attacks and with Weavile, etc.
Yeah. Especially given, like, you have the information of the previous turn where all Caleb did was attach and pass. So it seems like a pretty solid move here. He is going to, I guess, pressure the Blastoise to prevent any future energies.
Takes the knockout, thanks to the stadium. Also a good shout. He's considering whether or not to evolve this Ditto. He actually decides to hold for potential future Weaviles. I guess keeping 2 Leles on the board for as long as possible means you're going to get a lot of value out of these Weaviles. Caleb probably needs to get a Blastoise into play no matter what, because these Leles won't get the job done too well. But he can just manually attach this turn at least.
Yeah, I mean,
prize.
he does get that knockout, but back-to-back Water Energy top decks? No, it was Rare Candy and then Water Energy.
Yeah. He's got a good prize, at least. Erica's Hospitality is definitely good against Zoroark players.
Yeah.
Caleb going to go ahead and... Stefan going to go ahead and evolve that second Zoroark. There's a lot of trades on his mind. There's also the potential to Palpad if he wants to put in something like that early Kukui into his deck first to have better trading odds to find it. Mallow doesn't get the job done because he has the Kukui.
Yep. And with the low bench, there's no option for Dangerous Rogue, so we'll see. We'll see what line of play Stéphane wants to go with. The ideal, obviously, is Choice Band Kukui. Realistically, it's just not looking very likely.
But even, again, he's got the Guzma option. Again, he can just Guzma Squirtle and be like, well, you can keep attaching to these Lele's. They're not a big threat for me. I can Palpad in Acerola and do whatever I want. It's been really interesting how much he's valued this Ditto. He's really been stubborn in not evolving this Zoroark into it. He could have some big payoff, but he's just going to keep developing Sneasels.
Yeah, he wants to have the viability of always having a Weavile option. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't mind Gizmering up the Squirtle. Now he's got the Kukui, it's easy for him to just double trade and maybe hope to find Choice Band for next turn. It's sort of staring him in the face at this point. Let's try and find that Choice Band. So just take the threats off Caleb's board. Now he's just, attach a turn Lele deck. That's not going to go anywhere against this. So really just sort of strangling Caleb out of the win here.
Yeah, because even if you're playing to 7 prizes, you don't mind just taking over 2 Leles and that being...
there's no fear left about what Caleb can produce. So Caleb's had to... Erica, now after finding a Squirtle, gets into a bunch more energies.
I'm not sure I agree with that, Ultra Ball first. Because if you Ericas, and then you find a Blastoise, then you can Ultra Ball for the Squirtle. And if you find a Squirtle, then you can Ultra Ball for Blastoise next turn. So thinning just the one-off card didn't seem that...
I can't see a card that he's thinning towards, really. There's not really a card that he's thinning to try and get outside of just finding Squirtle Stoice anyway. So just give yourself the extra information off Erica. Makes more sense there. Yeah,
and it's not like he needed to play any cards to actually be able to play the Erica. So that seemed weird to me a little bit.
Double trade, still no Choice Band, but at least an Acerola. Acerola looks pretty fine. Just keeps plugging away at these Leles. Seems good enough to me.
Yeah. I guess Caleb wanted to hold on to the Magikarp on Voidlord until a Lele goes down. That way he could maybe force Stéphane to play to the 8 prizes. And so that he doesn't get the initial hit into it. But Caleb honestly could build a Wailord out of nowhere next turn with obviously a lot of luck in the powerful Squall.
Yeah. So just another hit from Stéphane, still choosing not to evolve that Ditto. He's given up essentially 8 cards this game by not evolving the Ditto. It's actually insane value that he's putting on the Ditto evolution. Yeah,
because by this point, he probably would have found one of his Choice Bands, right?
That's what I'm thinking, So... 8 more cards would probably get you there. It's insane that he didn't evolve that. So weird.
I mean, if he pops up in chat, I'm sure we could get to ask him. But I'm very curious as well as to what the reason for that is.
When he's so in control of the game, so far ahead in the race as well, and board state wise, it's all so you just want to minimize the number of turns you need to close the game. So just drawing more cards towards your one shots will just do that more often than being worried about them Guzma killing a Sneasel or anything, because A, they're drawing really poorly, and B, they're just playing with Leles, so you don't mind if they Guzma knock out a Sneasel.
Yeah,
it's never a problem for you.
I don't know if you noticed just now, Caleb hovered over the energy retrieval.
Yeah,
and then it seemed like he was about to play it, and then he went to check his discard pile, and then he retreated, and then he played it. So sometimes with PTGO, it is easy to You just see the cards and it's easy to just drag them and play them, but those little details like that extra energy, those extra numbers definitely can make a big difference later on.
You see him retreat out of one Lele, smack with the other. Magikarp Wellor's on the board now. Powerful Schools in effect.
Ditto is still Ditto.
Ditto is still Ditto.
And I guess Ditto...
Wow, he even... Oh my goodness. He's still getting rid of his Pokecom targets the entire game.
Yeah.
The entire game he's got rid of Pokecom targets. He's finally found himself a QE banned though.
Yeah. Which, once again, with the extra Zork, he definitely could have found that earlier, I would say. Interesting.
A few good options though.
So, he's... I mean, if you Acerola, you're not KOing. So do you go for the aggressive KO Lele and then clean up the other Lele? I guess that's fine, right?
I like it. I think they're both like really solid options. I think he's kind of worried. The only reason I could see him using Acerola here is just because he's worried that he only has 2 Zoroarks on board and he's determined not to evolve this Ditto.
Yeah.
So
Ditto is like Twitch chat. He's a viewer.
We could see, the Acerola allows him to Pokecom and find Weavile, and this could be a great way to take a knockout. So eventually he does find a way to Pokecom.
Yeah, and it does force Caleb, if he does, like if he manages to have Magikarp and Wailord powered up, he would also need a Guzma to actually take a KO. And there we go.
It eventually became a Zoroark anyway. Oh, dearie me. Okay, yeah. Sure. He gets one more trade out of it.
Yep. Which, the Grimer getting benched, probably not too relevant, right?
No, I don't think. I think he wants to keep his options open for Lele outs.
I believe his Lele's aren't the discard, though.
Maybe Pokecom outs as well. The card leads. Very relevant to play.
But I believe his 2 Leles are in the discard pile. He traded one the previous... Well, this turn, right? So, I think... I'm not sure on the other one, actually.
It's true. Picking up his second Lycanroc off prizes means that Caleb's not going to be able to protect this Lele very easily. It looks like Stéphane pretty much just has game in hand right now, unless Caleb does some funky plays that his hand can't really get him towards, unless this Powerful School is absolutely insane.
Yeah, you need 3 energies. That's a big rip.
Yeah, that's a big miss from the Blastoise, and that wraps up the game for Stéphane. There was a Guzma in his hand, Caleb's hand, so maybe he could have dealt with a Rockruff, but even then he'd only be going to 3 prizes, and it just felt that he was always a little bit far behind there.
Yeah, I mean, the Lele with a bunch of energies went down, the active Lele also had a bunch of energy, so I can't imagine there were too many energies left in this deck for even the Powerful Squall to completely hit. But yeah, we have Stéphane advance to the winners matchup in this Group A of the double elimination bracket, and we have Caleb move on to a losers match. Caleb is definitely not out of this yet, and he's up against whoever ends up losing in the next match, which is Pedro against Jimmy. And Pedro against Jimmy, interesting matchup. We're gonna have Malamar and Zoroark, and I don't know about you, but I felt like last season, if you were playing Malamar, you never wanted to face Zoroark. But as of now, since Zoroark is more focused on beating the Lightning decks and Pikarom especially, then Malamar has actually a pretty decent shot against the Zoroark decks.
Yeah, and Jimmy's build, unlike Stéphane, who's playing Weavile, Jimmy is just going all out on the fighting stuff. He's playing Zoroark Cario. So I think Ultra Malamar has a lot more potential for the Necrozma to actually tank some hits, and sometimes it can just tempo out if you can have that big knockout turn and then tank a hit. You can just go very far ahead in the race. So Jimmy's build, more catered towards dealing with, like you say, the lightning stuff, the Picarons and mirror matches, will benefit Pedro there. So he might be going into the matchup a little bit ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when the players chose their decks, they did not know what the other players were going to choose. So they chose their decks all the way back right after Collinsville, which happened where Zoroark Lucario won, Blacephalon won, Zoroark Lucario took second place. I made top 4 with Pikarom, and we had mill decks pop up as well with Vileplume and stuff. So I imagine those results were definitely in all of the players' heads when deciding their decks. And in this particular matchup, I do think Malamar is a little bit favored against Zoroark decks, but Zoroark, of course, has the consistency factor going for it. Whereas Malamar, you do need to run, not hot, but you do need the deck to flow very nicely for you to be able to get to that very nice late game where you have the multiple psychic recharges and whatever attacker you might need at the time.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a normal game plan for Malamar, you feel like it's ahead. But the thing is, Zoroark will have its normal game plan maybe 8 times out of 10, and Malamar will have it maybe 6 times out of 10. So that sort of like balances the matchup a little bit more. Pedro's list is pretty straightforward though. He's playing like 4 Viridian Forest, so he can dig out those metal energies because he really wants to chain attacks with Ultra Necrozma in this matchup. His Giratina becomes the passenger. You don't really need the non-GX unless you're trying to skew the prize trade on some lower evolving stuff. You're normally just trying to smack Jimmy's GXs for big 1-hit KOs, whereas Jimmy, he's going to try his best to use Zoroark to get crafty, maybe pick off some Malamars, stop the overall damage potential of Ultra Necrozma, use Lycanroc GX to take a big one-shot at some point in the game as well. So that's going to be an interesting back and forth between both players. It's always a pretty close matchup, I would say.
Yeah. Definitely the Dangerous Rogue, I think, is going to be key to deal with those big Ultra Necrozmas, as it's the only way Jimmy really has to deal with them. But if you're ready, Joe, why don't we jump into the next match?
Let's do it.
Yeah, okay. So we're starting, guys, with Pedro versus Jimmy right now.